Why is God hidden?
Well, there's some really obvious answers to that, most of them ending in, you know, 'cause he doesn't real. But let's take it for a sec and think of one good reason why a real God boy would be hiding. Well, isn't it obvious? It's because he's on the lam. God is a degenerate gambler, as evidenced by the Bible, and he got himself way too deep with the mob. So now he goes by Juan Sanchez, superpowered man about town. They'll never find him.
Why does it appear that God is invisible? Why is he hidden from us?
It's a good question, and one that theist types always fail to answer in a satisfying way for some reason. I mean, you would think that the most powerful being in the universe would be kind of hard to miss, but for some reason, it's like he's not even there. Some would say, because, you know, he isn't, but I'm far too smart for that. The less able to detect something I am, the more certain I am that it exists.
That's a question that believers have been grappling with for millennia. It's also a question that...
Not gonna lie, if you have been wondering about a question for 1,000+ years and the only answers you come up with are bad ones, then maybe that question either has been answered in an Occam's razor type way, you know, non-existo is non-existent, or it's just a dumb question that will never be able to be answered. Personally, if I believed in something that was completely undetectable and I had to spend all my time justifying why that could be, I might, you know, just stop believing in things that I have no reason to accept.
Among atheists, I think is probably considered the number one, for many atheists, it would seem.
The number one what exactly? I'm assuming you mean like question, but it could be anything. Maybe why is God invisible is the atheist's number one recipe or power tool. Perhaps it's atheists' number one dating show, although I'm not sure how that would even work. You can't date an obviously silly premise, otherwise Matt Walsh would be swimming in strange.
It is considered the number one argument against the existence of God.
Is it though? I mean, I think the number one argument against the existence of God isn't that, mostly because it's a series of arguments that leave me unconvinced, not just some number one. I mean, sure, he's invisible, but I think the fact that there's so many different versions of him and none of them make any sense and the universe works just fine without any kind of deity, those are just a few of the many reasons I personally don't find the God clams big convince.
Because they say that, look, an all-powerful being, a being who is responsible for creating all things, who rules over all things,
might be a little bit easier to notice than the very basic subatomic particles of the universe that we can both detect and manipulate with relative ease, or the enormous scale of the universe that while we have not mapped it in its entirety, we have a pretty good idea of its size and shape, or, you know, fucking anything in between. But for some reason, some elusive and definitely not completely mind-shatteringly obvious reason, we just can't seem to find this thing that people made up. I mean, that totally exists.
He would not remain invisible to us.
What are you talking about, remain? You're a Bible believer, aren't you, Matt, me old soap dish? The funny thing about the Bible is that God is fucking everywhere in that thing. He shows up all the bastard time, constantly does things, amazing, impossible things, and makes damn sure that we all know who gets the credit. And then as people got better and better at recording accurate histories, he got shyer and shyer, and then people started getting real good at actually checking the things that people said happened, and that's when he disappeared entirely. So yeah, it's less that I have a problem with him remaining hidden, and more that he didn't remain running about being Mr. Obvious for hundreds of years, and just so happened to decide to stop when people could actually know for sure that he was real, almost like he's made up or something insane like that.
He would reveal himself unmistakably.
Again, according to book, he did. I mean, that's the funny thing about the fool in his heart says there is no God. That's from the God doing stuff time, because it's in the Old Testament. And, you know, it's before Jesus even turned up to do his particular set of magic trick. So there was allegedly a bunch of things going on all the time that would totally have been convincing. But now, that should really read a fool in his heart believes things for which I have provided no evidence for literally thousands of years, and probably didn't even do it back then because meth is a hell of a drug.
Especially if he looks upon it and you think,
and see that everyone, the ones he made apparently and loves, are not believing in him, which he needs to happen for some reason, because, all-powerful people are so invested in things which literally have no possible way to affect them. I mean, think about it. Ants have more ability to affect a human being, and they are entirely ignored 99.9% of the time. So a limited mortal to Mr. Infinity simply is not there. I guess that's why it works so well the other way round. If he does exist, it's effectively the same as him not existing. Funny that.
Well, if I were God, and I created this world.
Well, now there's the question. What would I do if I were God and created the everything? Well, first of all, fuck Earth, that's getting deleted. I mean, it keeps spawning those humans things that I just can't seem to get rid of. Then there's the fact that for some reason, an all-powerful real God man never made a planet made of entirely pizza and whiskey. So I would fix that. But of course, what he really wants to know is if I had some perfect non-human guys that I did on purpose, well, wouldn't I show myself to them? And no, of course not. Exposing yourself to random people, that would be a crime.
Of people. And I looked and I saw this world, and I saw especially that people were falling away from belief.
Okay, let's say I really cared about people, and for some reason it was super fucking important that they all really, really, really wanted to suck my God popsicle. Then for starters, I would delete all of the made up religions. And no, I don't mean that I would make what was there disappear. I'm all powerful, Mother Hubbard. I would make it so that these false religions simply never happened. And then if anyone ever tried to write a new religion, then I would make what they wrote down come out as nonsensical gibberish with stories that don't have any logical consistency and constantly contradict themselves. And, oh shit, maybe God is real and he's me apparently.
And there's so much suffering and misery and pain and so forth. Well, then I would appear
and say, hey, all that suffering and misery and pain, yeah, my bad, guys. I mean, I don't like any of those things, and I don't want anyone to have them happen to them. But here's the thing, I got really drunk one night and made them in a fit of uncontrollable spite. And, well, it's done now. What am I supposed to do? Make it unhappen? Pfft, I think you'll find that I'm perfect and all-knowing. I must have done it for some reason. And I won't tell you what that is until someone comes up with an explanation that enough idiots believe for me to get away scot-free. That, or I guess I could undo it like I undid the last thing I did on purpose for no reason. All I need is to clone myself and then find a form of execution that enough other people have had happen to them for it to ring really hollow when I act as if it's way worse when it happened to me for some reason.
I would make myself clear. I would say, hey, everybody, listen up. Look, here I am. Here's God.
You would, wouldn't you, in those exact words and intonation. And then be surprised no one's super impressed by that. Personally, I think something far more convincing would be turning all water into whiskey, because it plays on one of my most popular parlor tricks, but also, turning it into something nice rather than the cheap plonk that I pissed out back in the day before I had the funding of the church to back me up.
Here's what I want you to do. Here's how I want you to live.
Yeah, but he apparently did do that thousands of years ago in circumstances that are practically unrecognizable from today. The problem is him refusing to do the same today and pulling the old, I already told you once, gambit hundreds of years between now and the last time he did that. I mean, even if everything was right, asking someone to do something once and then never saying it again in a vague hope that they maybe will remember and possibly even write it down and then not lose what they wrote, it's a stretch even for the simplest of instructions. But a guide for life? That shit should get released once per year with updates and bonus instructions for shit like hyperlight travel and how to cook the perfect pasta dish. Things of equal value.
I wouldn't pass down these truths in a book.
It sounds like he's really just arguing himself out of his position. Of course, then he'll be like, but no, I still believe because of Yeah, that's it. All those extremely valid points are meaningless when you consider that completely coherent noise I just made.
In an ancient book, I wouldn't trust human
Ah, finally, something me and Matt can agree on. I wouldn't trust human either, or the rest of them for that matter. They're just awful for one. They have a terrible habit of making things up and then forgetting they made it up and then thinking that it's actually true and not bothering to check to see if there's any good reason for holding said belief. Yeah, it's just the worst.
Other humans to, impart the knowledge, I would just appear and I would make it clear.
Matt, I have covered you a few times, and you couldn't make a glass of the world's purest water clear with a giant funnel and 1,000 Brita filters. But sure, that's what we would all do because you said so.
I think that's kind of the atheist argument.
The atheist argument? No, it's an atheist argument, and honestly, not one that people consider to be like the greatest. Not that it's a bad point per se, but that there are just so many good points that making out that this one here is the top one is like saying there's a best whiskey. Motherfucker, they're all good. The only way to make them better is if they are within arm's reach. So whatever that one is the best for that extremely brief window.
And I think even non-atheists, even believers, have had moments of wondering this. I think we all probably have.
Non-atheists, I think the word you are looking for is idiots. I mean theists. Don't know why I said that, although to be fair, if you have that very reasonable and obvious thought and then dismiss it just to go back to believing in nonsense, that isn't exactly a big brain sort of move. But I do think everyone is idiots, so you are at least as stupid as everyone else. So that's something.
We've all grappled with this question. I know I'll admit that I've had moments in prayer sometimes where I say to God,
Dear bestie, please, please, please make all of my dreams come true at the expense of everyone else. They don't love you like I love you, no one does, and don't deserve anything, especially those non-believers who only don't murder because they think it's wrong and not because they will get a reward for no reason when they die. I mean, what's the point of being good people without rewards? Actually, bloody righteous bastards.
I say, God, if you would just reveal yourself to me. I mean, can you just reveal yourself? Can you come out of the shadows?
I can't believe you would even ask such a thing. I mean, if he wanted you to know he was there, he would have revealed himself to you already. You would have gotten dick pics and ass pics and a full frontal flexing in front of a sports car that he doesn't own. Frankly, at this point, I'm starting to think he just doesn't love you back, man.
Just for 1 second, and just show me your glory in all of its fullness, just for 1 second. That's all I'm asking for, just 1 second.
1 second? Is that all it will take to convince you? Well, shit. I can show you my full glory for 2 seconds, and it will blow your mind. And if I saw something for 1 second, no matter how amazing it was, my immediate assumption wouldn't be that I had witnessed the true of the universe. I would assume I'd fucking dreamt it, or I had a hallucination or some shit. If God am real, he should be able to do that infinity times, and not just you, but loads of people seeing it too. And everyone's vision should be exactly the same without them ever having the chance to talk to each other. Because I'm not gonna simply believe Magic Man real because my dumb ass thinks I saw something.
Just 1 second. If I had just 1 second, just a blink of an eye, if I had a 1 second vision of heaven.
I don't think you know how long the blink of an eye is, mate. I mean, seriously, this is what you would look like if you blinked and it took a whole second. That's really goddamn slow and would make you look like a complete and total idiot. And you know what? Never mind. I'm sure you blink that slow sometimes because it would explain a lot.
Of the supernatural realm of the world that lies beyond this one, if I had just that 1 second, that would be enough to sustain me for the rest of my life.
Wow, that's kind of pathetic, dude. I mean, seriously, there are so many explanations as to why you thought you saw in your 1 second long blink worth of a god's divine glory, and none of the ones that make sense are cause God am real. Most of them are, and then the brain did something really fucking weird. Or, and then he never did drugs again, which is basically the same. Why do you think spiritual journeys are so often done with mind-altering drugs? It's because we don't have fucking reality warping ones, so we have to fuck with the brain to achieve those results.
I could live for 100 years, for 1,000 years on just that 1 second.
Look, I know that the Bible says that people can live for hundreds of years, but you know that book is, let's say, a little bit less than scientifically accurate. And hell, you would be lucky to live 100 years from the start of your life, and certainly aren't going to do it from this point, seeing as you got to be at least, 12 years old at this point? You know, if we're judging him based on his level of education. So how about can it, Methuselah?
But the vision never comes. It's never come to me. It's never come to most of us.
And my wife has never come either. Wait, I mean, the vision never came to her. She's come loads. Sometimes I was even tangentially involved. I said, see you later, honey, not coming back for a month. And then you lot can decide how to end that story for yourself. But just a hint about those endings, they're all true.
And I think for most of us, it never will come, at least not in this life.
Most of us? How about all, Matthew? And you know why? Because God doesn't reel. And even if he did, he literally wouldn't give a single solitary shit about any of us. Because you can't have something be all-powerful and then also need worthless humans to worship it. If anything, needing you to maintain his magical erection makes me think he's less all-powerful and more all-perverted. Gross.
Wait, before you go, I have something super important to tell you. It's life or death. It will change everything forever. Nope, wait, it's gone. Oh well, probably wasn't important. But while I have you, don't forget to comment, subscribe and notify. And if you want more of my smexy voice, check out Mrs. Six's channel Spoonstaff Stories, where I narrate and voice all the videos, and she does the work. And if you want to support the channel, check out the merch store for cool t-shirts, or check out Patreon, memberships and PayPal to support directly. Finally, follow me on the medias of social to get completely pointless guff and to keep up on the latest releases. Oh, I just remembered what I was going to tell you. Whatever you do, don't touch the